What's up, guys? It's Coach Robbie. Obviously, I want to apologize ahead of time. I know, obviously, the reason on a Sunday that I'm in the office is because I've been sick the last couple of days, really half of this week, but it really intensified the last couple of days. So I'm not going to sound great today. I actually, as you can tell, had no intention of shooting a video today. Really, I mean, no NSR shirt, no. Everybody that knows me knows I always have a hat on, and obviously have not done anything with that today. So I want to apologize ahead of time about that. But as a scout, we run into a lot of things in our own daily lives, whether it is working with our prospects or working with college coaches, obviously, but also with our own family and our own kids that have a direct correlation to the things going on in the sports world. I'm in a much different situation, than I had predicted, where, I have one that's a 14-year-old, 14 going on 40, and then I have a 6-year-old. And so, I've seen the cycles of everything, and, of course, it's much easier to measure then and be able to say that things have changed in the way that things are done over that period of time. And so, forewarning ahead of time, as you can see from the title of this video, it is about why kids need competition and they need to learn how to fail so that they can learn how to succeed. My personal opinion, it's probably one of the top 5 to 10 most controversial topics when it comes to the sports world. There's some people, and not just the sports world, now it's going on the academic side, which I can talk about in a whole nother video. It's gotten to a point where, participation trophies and everybody's a winner and all this other stuff. And so stuff I'll dive into here in just a minute, and hopefully I don't elongate this video. But that being said, an off day being home and being sick this weekend, and I just happened to come into the office today. Being sick, I had to get a couple of things done for a couple of my prospects, and then I was going to jet out to the house. Parker, my 6-year-old, who we're still not exactly sure what her, love sport or love hobby or whatever is going to be, because the kid she likes to have her hands in everything, as a 6-year-old should, and likes to explore and everything. So, she's actually played softball for 3 years. We call it softball, but she played intro at 4 years old, where it was boys and girls playing t-ball, and, basically just about everybody got a base and that kind of stuff. And then last year, went in and moved up and, t-ball, and, but you were, girls and boys, and last year was the first year of Coach Pitch, where, you get three pitches, and if you don't hit it, you get 3 swings off a tee, but you at least got out, and people, won and lost, even though they still awarded participation trophies and stuff like that. This year being her 3rd year playing softball, she's played a couple of years of soccer. She's played 1 year of basketball, about to start her 2nd year of basketball, and she's been doing gymnastics for sometime between 6 months and a year now, at a place, not too far from us in Cabot, Arkansas. I don't get to attend as much because of the timing of the way that the, 2 times a week practices are, and their meets are always on big showcase weekends and things like that. And, so luckily I have my wife, Leslie, that handles all that stuff. My point to that, this weekend was her first meet, her first official gymnastics meet she's ever done. Ever. And I told you about all those other sports not to try to act like, oh, my daughter's the best, and she's done all this different stuff. I told you that to kind of set up this part. In all of those other sports, in each of those seasons, never once has she ever acted like she was nervous. If she practiced, did the team practices. She would come home and do, what we called practice. Obviously being in the sports world, I know I'm not going to turn around and drain my child and, have her sitting out there hitting 500 balls before she goes to bed kind of crap. She wants to hit, we'll go out and hit. If she doesn't want to go hit, I'm not going to say anything. My personal opinion, my parenting opinion. But my point to this, yesterday was the first day of the gymnastics meet, but because she's in the youngest age group possible and happens to be the youngest girl, she, their competition pieces weren't until today, but the parents still have to work it and do this other stuff. And so she was there. She wanted to go with my wife to go watch and see what the other girls do, and wanted to really see how all of the things that she had been practicing up until now, how are they going to fit into, and I took it as she's just very conscientious and wanted to be prepared and everything, plus it's something that's really cool. It's a bunch of older girls doing a bunch of really cool stuff, and what better mentors than those types of kids. So, and then this morning, I'm in the bathroom, brushing my teeth, and just around the corner, I hear my wife waking Parker up, and when she does, I start to hear Parker a little whiny, not whiny, but a little, initial tearing up sound from her voice, and but I'm scared, but I'm nervous. But what if, and so of course I lean around the corner and I tell Leslie, hey, I tell Leslie and Parker, hey, give me a couple minutes, I'll come in there and I'll talk to you about it. How's that sound? And, it caught me off guard, honestly. All of a sudden started thinking, I've never heard her say that she was nervous about something, or, even comprehend the situation. And so that being said, in the last 3 years of softball or any of the other sports, she's never once said that she was worried about it. She shows up, she has fun, she has good days, and some days she's horrible. Whoop-de-doo, she's 6. Figuring out how to deal with the good days and the bad days, and realizing a bad day can only last 24 hours is kind of the key to how all that should work. But that's that. But this morning, hearing all that, and so of course I go and I sit down and have a talk with her, and in a nutshell, I just kind of explained that, first thing, there is not a single freaking person in this world that is perfect. There is one, and Jesus Christ, and I'm not going to go religious on y'all, but we had that brief discussion. Nobody is perfect. Not me, not your mama, not anybody else. Every professional athletes are not perfect. Number 2, this is my personal opinion. Nerves are a good thing. Every prospect that I work with will tell you the same thing. The same thing I told my daughter this morning, and I don't tell my prospect stuff and advise them in a fashion that I would not advise my own kids. And this is proof in the pudding. Nerves are a good thing. Scared is a bad thing. Scared means you doubt yourself and your ability to pull it off, regardless of what it is. If it's an ACT, if it is asking a boy or a girl on a date, if it is getting a job, if it is doing well at a tournament that weekend, regardless of what it is, scared means that you doubt your ability to get it done. That's a bad thing. You throw my chunky butt out in the middle of the ocean and there's a bunch of great white sharks around, I'm scared because, as everybody knows, they ain't vegans. They eat meat. And so, but you think about nerves. Nerves, you don't get nervous about stuff that you don't care about the end result of. So like I was nervous on the day I took my ACT. I was nervous on my wedding day. I was nervous on the day my kids were born. And the next part I elaborated to her with that is, still to this day, I'm a grown man in my mid-30s. And still to this day, and maybe I shouldn't be telling y'all this part, but I still get nervous about things to this day. I know the things in my life that I'm really, really good at, especially in parts of my career, as a college scout and the things that I do. I know the things that I'm exceptionally well and better than 99% at. But still to this day, there are little things that still to this day, I get there and I'm going to do it or whatever, and I won't elaborate on what they are because I'm definitely keeping that close to the chest. But I end up, being truthful. I call my wife. And I end up telling her, man, I can't figure out why I got the bubble guts. I have bubble guts. I am nervous. I'm excited, but I'm nervous. And she always tells me, hey, same thing you always say, Robbie. You're only nervous because you want it to go well. It's not because you doubt yourself. You know that you're the best person to be in this particular position, but you want it to go so exceptionally well that any ounce of failure about it is going to be dissatisfying to you. And I don't know why to this day, but one thing that I do know, nerves are a good thing. It means you care about the end result of what's going on. And truthfully, nerves keep us on our toes. They keep us active. The third thing that I explained to her is, this is your first gymnastics meet ever. It's not going to be perfect. The first time you do anything, it's not great. And then I asked her, I said, do you remember 2 or 3 years ago when you started writing your name? And she's, well, kinda. And I said, do you write your name better right now than you did back then? And she's like, oh gosh, yeah. Yeah, she's like, and of course shows me, oh, look how fast I can do it now, yes, but as far as legible and everything, do you remember, so what do you think's changed? And then she says, well, I've done it a bunch and I've practiced a bunch, so now it's just natural. It's kind of like riding a bike. And I said, boom. Today, this weekend is your first gymnastics meet ever. Understand going in, like we talked about, you're not perfect and this is your first time. It could go horrible. It's probably not, because I've seen the work you've put in order to achieve what you're about to achieve. But understand, you're going to screw up a couple of times today. You're going to mess up. The biggest thing that I can tell you with messing up is if you turn around and wash your hands of the mess up. And as far as using the gymnastics expression, if you are doing one of your events and you mess up, and rather than it showing on your face or showing on your body language, you turn and you look at the judges and you give them the most beautiful smile with shoulders back and ears back, posture's good, and then boom, you get right back to what you're doing and you follow through. In addition to, for the rest of the time in the next several events that you're doing, you rock it out. It is absolutely impossible for it not to go well. So understand, today's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be fun, and you're going to do some things good, but there's a couple things you're probably going to do pretty bad. Understand that going in. The fifth thing that I explained to her was when you take a test, yeah, you can get an A, B, C, D, F. Of course, there's some other schools doing weird grading and all this different core curriculum crap. But if you get an A plus or you get an A minus, is that still an A? And she said, well, absolutely. And I said, well, in a new class that you're not too familiar with some of the stuff, initially you may get an A minus until you master it, start to get an A plus. She said, oh yeah, this is no different. You accept the fact, and she points out, she said, that means I probably got a couple wrong or whatever. But after that, after a little bit of time, I start to get better. Absolutely. An A plus or an A minus is still an A, period. It's still excellence. It may not be perfection, but it's excellence. The next thing I ended up explaining to her is about as self-explanatory as it is. If she's 6, and I want her to be a kid as long as she can and not stress about a whole lot of crap, but she's driven. So the way I explained it to her, look, you've been training for months upon months for this, not just at your practices, but for hours at home. You had us buy the beam, you had us buy the bar, you had us buy the mat so that you could do your routine and stuff, and you had us buy all this stuff, and I'm digging it, I'm fine with it. But we haven't had to ask you to practice it one time. You've been practicing and doing your thing. You know exactly what you're doing. You're freaking awesome at it, and you have fun doing it. It ain't no different. The only difference is you're gonna have a really shiny outfit on, and there's gonna be some other people out there that you may not know. But guess what? They ain't talking about you after you leave. You go do it like you do it at home. No different. So at the end of all of that, and of course I went a little bit out of order just speaking, but 8 little things that I kind of explained to her. And that's when I got her to kind of flash me that, she looks like her mom. Parker looks like her mom. She looks like Leslie. She does a lot of things exactly like Leslie, but she did get a couple things from me. And one of them is that aha moment slash confident slash cocky smirk out of the side of her mouth. And as opposed to her eyes being all red and ready to tear up by the time I finish going over those like 8 things, she kind of looks at me, she gives me that kind of little smirk and goes, and gives me knuckles. And I knew right there, I didn't even ask for it, right? And her facial expression changed, eyes are wide. She sits up, gives me the knuckles without me asking for it, and I'm like, boom, that's that. The kid's ready to roll. Then you fast forward, this was probably at 7 o'clock this morning. You fast forward to 11 a.m. And that's when I get the following text from Leslie. Not only did Parker end up placing first in every category, in her age group, of course, and the way that they have all that working, but she placed first in every category, but she placed first overall in her age group, of course, but she placed first overall. She scored extremely well. She knew going in her toughest thing was the beam. Luckily, they did the beam first, and there was a couple of things that she didn't do great, but she still scored, half a point higher than everybody else, and still got first place in her worst category, as she calls it. And the next thing I get is, the kid is on cloud 9, and she figured out, that yes, it's an individual type competition, and yeah, there's team stuff, but all she can do is focus on her and do her job. So here's where this got me to really thinking. It got me to really thinking. Parker learned a handful of things about herself today. A handful of things about herself. One being, everybody doesn't get a trophy. You are rewarded and awarded what you have worked for and earned. Period. What you are rewarded and awarded should absolutely be a direct reflection of one's ability to do their job and perform. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll be the first to tell you, exactly what I just said is not just a 6-year-old going to her first gymnastics meet. That is any of us adults that are in their career or anything else. What you are awarded and rewarded and acknowledged for should only be a direct result of your ability to do your job and perform. The next thing I think Parker really figured out about herself is being nervous is okay. If you remember, you trained hard enough for this and it's going to work out, period. If you trained hard enough for it, it's okay to be nervous because you still know in the back of your head, you've been working for this. You trained for this. You practiced for this. The third thing she figured out is nobody's perfect. Nobody is perfect. You should aim for getting to as close to perfection as you can, but understand in any aspect of any part, you're always going to have a couple of hiccups, and that's all right. The fourth thing, which I think is monumental, she figured out that competition breeds excellence. It's the oldest saying in the book, I bet. Competition and adversity breeds excellence. Challenging yourself breeds excellence. It lets you find out what you are really actually made of. And of course, the last most important thing that I think Parker most definitely figured out about herself with all of this, Dad is always right. So, in a nutshell, it got me to thinking about, the way sports are going today, kids and parents nowadays. It just reiterated to me a lot of different things that go through my head on a daily basis. And a lot of times I have to watch what I do talk about and how I talk about it. And there's some topics that even though I may have a strong opinion based on supported facts and experience, I still don't delve that far into it because it's too controversial. But the reason I chose to go ahead and shoot this video is now this is not just my opinion on some things. This is factually supported by measurable evidence with my own child, with my own kid. Factual proof with my own kid. Takeaway message. Life doesn't give out participation trophies. Neither should we as parents, neither should we as coaches, neither should we as turning directors or even lead directors. If you want more, do more, be more. The next thing would be stop telling the kids everyone's a winner and thinking that every kid needs to be told how great they are and how great they did no matter what the result is. Kids, whether we point it out or not, and even if we try to tell them differently, they are very perceptive. They are learning on a second-to-second basis. They know whether the game went good or bad, and they know whether they did good or bad. Doesn't matter what sport it is, they know. We need to quit telling them that everybody's a winner and everybody did great. We need to quit telling them that. And I'm just going to say that right now. It doesn't mean that we turn around and go the opposite route and tell a 6-year-old, you need to get your head out of your butt, we lost the game because of you kind of stuff. That's not the conversation either. We don't even really comment on it. Let them comment on it. And if they don't talk about it, all they talk about is how they want ice cream or a popsicle then fine. They are kids. Let them be kids. But the reason we want to stop doing that is this telling everybody's a winner is going to carry over into high school, adulthood. Notice there that I didn't say college or career. And I'm not saying that it's not possible, but when we take these kids when they're younger and tell them how they are perfect, and no matter how bad they did or no matter how little they cared, they are still the best out there, and you're the prettiest and the best and the fastest and the strongest and the sweetest and the most apt to become the president and be the first president to have more than 2 terms and all kinds of stuff, whatever. It carries over into high school, carries over into their adulthood. And all of a sudden, that's where you're getting these people who don't stay at a job for very long. They don't know how to put in the time. And more importantly, they don't know how to put in, when they're putting in the time, they don't know how to deal with adversity. They don't know how, they come in and once a new car smell is gone, whether it's in high school, on a new high school team, at a new travel team, at a new job, whatever, they come in with a new car smell. Once that's gone, the honeymoon period, all of a sudden, they're looking for that instant reward, instant gratification. And what ends up happening? They don't get it. So now and I can't remember the study, but I saw a study about a month ago where it showed in the age group where, like my mother was, had graduated high school and was getting a job and everything, the average time frame that people stayed with a job was 17 years, I think it was. As of November 3rd, 2019, the average time that Americans stayed with a job was 2.25, so 2.25 years. So, and it's not because they were just so exceptional that they climbed the ladder so fast and there was nowhere to go but up. It is, they didn't get that instant gratification, and they were only being awarded what they were doing. And most were only doing what their job description required, and sometimes still falling short of that. That stuff carries over. And so rather than telling your kid that they need to be working hard and they need to want to. Yet obviously, this is not a gymnast body. I am not a gymnast. Gymnastics is, I know a little bit. Basically, I know how to spell gymnastics. I know that the thing is called a leotard, and I know a few event names. Now, as far as going much deeper than that, it is not my forte. That being said, regardless, as you can see, like I talked about the different sports with Parker earlier, I don't know what she's going to end up choosing. Who knows if it's even a sport? Maybe she chooses 2 years down the road, she decides she wants to play the piano, or she decides, man, I really like drawing, or I really like writing stories, or I really like whatever. What she's figuring out now will still translate into it, which kind of brings me into my next point. The reason sports as a child has been such a pivotal development tool for building successful teenagers as well as adults, it teaches them you get out of it what you put into it. It doesn't matter if it is in a sport. It doesn't matter if it is in a classroom. It doesn't matter if it's on a weight loss program. It doesn't matter if it is in a marriage. Anything. You get out of it what you put into it. It also teaches the 5 Ps. Another one of the oldest acronyms, I guess it's an acronym, in the book. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Again, it's an aspect of sports that develops highly functional and successful teenagers and adults. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. The third thing is actually pretty clear, and it's gonna sound funny, but it's true, and I won't delve into the science part of it and stuff, but the working hard for something and then getting that gratifying high feeling, that you're on cloud 9 when you reap the rewards of what you've sowed. That inspires a deeper level of drive and a deeper level of purpose, because the child wants to achieve that high of success, feeling again and again and again. And so as they continue to succeed, they continue to work harder because they want that feeling, that high that they got when they just really kicked the crap out of something. They just really nailed it. They want that feeling again. All of us do. You do. I do. No matter what. The interesting part to that, the science is clear. The science is so clear. A lot of the chemical responses that the human body gets out of that gratifying feeling of success, it is very, very similar to the chemical responses that people get from taking a drug. And obviously not a piece that I want to include too much in this video, but the different chemical responses, and the chemical releases and things and the feelings that you get, not just in your brain, but in your body from succeeding at a sports event or in a certain part of your career or something. And it has somewhat the same feeling as what somebody who is addicted to an addictive drug or something gets. Next, probably one of the most important other parts is nobody's perfect. I'm gonna make mistakes, but the key to this is minimizing the number of mistakes, recovering from them quickly, and doing so freaking good after making that mistake on every other thing that people forget about the mistake that you made in the first place. In terms of softball, it's my first at bat. Bases are loaded in the first inning, and I pop up for the third out. And I'm thinking, man, that sucked. I really screwed up. And then I get 2 more at bats that game, and I hit a 2-run shot and a 3-run shot. Don't think anybody is really talking about, yeah, she struck out, man. Freaking, she's horrible for the team. No, everybody's going ballistic because I got 5 RBIs off of 2 home runs, in one game. And quite possibly had probably one of the biggest contributing factors to our team winning that game. That being said, understand you're going to make mistakes. Work your tail off to minimize the number of mistakes. And then when you do make a mistake, recover quickly, wash your hands, throw it away, and get back to business and do so freaking good that everybody else forgets about the mistake you made. And the last one being one of my favorite sayings: fun can sometimes feel like work, but work can all the time feel like fun. You really think about that for a second. That applies to me with my career. That applies to a player. If you were having problems with your kid not wanting to train as much, not wanting to go to lessons, not wanting to go outside and do her tee work or go outside and pitch into the net or not go to conditioning or whatever the case is, let's be honest. Yeah, there's some other little minimal contributing factors, but if you absolutely love something, it doesn't matter how much else you have to do and how tired you are and everything else. You know, there's a particular kid and a kid prospect of mine. I'll just say it, Jenna Gibson. The kid has a ton of stuff on her plate all the time, but the kid is always trained. I literally, and you can, if you know her, you can ask her. I have to tell her to chill out a little bit, rest a little bit. The kid always, even in addition to everything else that she has going on, she wants to go pitch all the time, go work on different things all the time, wants to go hit all the time. When she ain't doing that, she's hitting the gym like she's training for an ultra marathon through the desert or something. And it blows my mind, but the kid is so hungry. She's never, you know, she's not afraid to say, yeah, I did great, but I can do better. You know, and that is as much as you can ask for in an athlete. Guys, that's all I got. I truly hope that I did not get too personal with y'all in talking about all this, but obviously, in my opinion, one of the top 5 to 10 debates that's going on in the general public right now when it comes to youth sports and its effect on development of the kids for the long haul. I'm not one of these people that thinks that they know everything. Contrary to popular belief, I am not one of these people that think that they know everything about everything. I can respectfully disagree with you on this part or that part from time to time. That being said, you get done watching this, if you disagree with the points that I've made today, comment and tell me. Tell me what and why. I'm interested in this, not just because obviously in my job at NSR with working with prospects, mentoring prospects all the time, I think sports psychology, luckily I took a couple of my classes in college were sports psychology because it ironically actually is paying off. But I think 50% of working with college athletes is the psychology. It's not, oh, she's in a rut. You know, we got to get her out of her head and that kind of stuff. I'm talking about a day-to-day thing. And especially in the recruiting process when, you know, a coach decides that they're going to go with somebody over you and man, that just really sucks and you take it personal, but you got to remember it ain't personal, it's business. They could have loved you as a kid, but, you know, talent-wise it wasn't a fit or exactly what they needed. What you weren't the perfect ingredient. You know, so bottom line, if you don't mind, if you disagree with me or you have a difference in opinion with some particular aspect of what I've said, leave a comment and tell me what and why. And truthfully, if you don't want to comment, shoot me an email. My email is rwilson@nsr-inc.com. rwilson@nsr-inc.com. Guys, that's all I got for today. Hope y'all had a great weekend. Hope you weren't laying around sick like I am. Hope y'all had a great weekend, and I'll catch up with y'all later.